For those of you that want to start resistance training, which should be almost everyone by the way, there might be a few things that you are unsure about. How heavy should I lift? What should I eat? How long does it take to get into shape? Who should I turn to for advice? So this video is to try and provide advice for the most common questions asked about weightlifting and going to the gym in general, and also to try and give guidance to try and avoid some of the biggest mistakes within training. And if I knew even half of this stuff, like really knew it at the start of my training journey, my progress would have been at least twice as fast. The fitness industry and fitness culture as a whole sometimes creates a lot of hype, especially nowadays with social media. In other words, a lot of fitness influencers will try and tell you what to do without any kind of evidence to kind of justify why it's a good decision in your situation. Equally, there's also a lot of fitness influencers that will try and lie to you and be deceptive to try and sell you something and make money. In this situation, it's really good to follow people in the fitness industry for advice and education who have had gym experience, hopefully, who give good advice and are also ethical. Because there are many fitness influencers that want to create loads of hype around a certain gym program or lifting bout or pre-workout routine. You know, don't fall into the trap of just giving these people money if they don't deserve it. If there is one single YouTuber I can recommend for you to follow and just to binge all of his content, it's someone called Jeff Nippard. His videos are extremely high quality and he just seems like a good and ethical individual. But most impressive is his ability to break down scientific concepts about training and exercise science in a way that is entertaining and also understandable for most people. And as someone that's got personal training qualifications, who's trained several years to be a strength and conditioning coach, who has a first class honours on a sport and exercise science degree, who is now doing a master's degree in physiotherapy, I can vouch that his content, from what I can see, is valid, accurate and useful. So definitely check him out and watch his content within the past 2 or 3 years. Especially his YouTube playlist called Technique Tuesday, which gives advice in regards to what is the best technique for different exercises. One of the best quotes that I've heard with training is train your muscles and not your ego. Anyone doing resistance training or weightlifting, or however you want to word it, should be lifting light to moderate weights when they first start out. To explain, when you finished a working set of multiple reps, a set is just multiple reps without stopping, when you finished a set, you should feel like you could have done about 3 to 5 or maybe 2 to 4 more reps. And for the guys out there, don't just lift insanely heavy weights because some girl is looking at you from across the gym. Also, when you're lifting, you want to be thinking about what your form is like, what is your technique when you're lifting. So what position should my body in? Am I bracing my back in the right way? Am I contracting my muscles in the right way? Are my knees going in or out when I'm doing a squat? It's these kind of questions you should be thinking about in regards to the biomechanics of how your body moves when you are exercising. When you first start lifting, you won't have a good idea of how strong you are or exactly how many reps you can do for a given weight. You might also feel unstable. You might feel like you're not kind of in control of the weight, or a certain movement pattern feels kind of weird. This is completely normal. When I train, 99% of the time, I can guess within 1 rep of how many reps I can do until failure for a given weight. And as well as that, I feel like the weight is so stable, and so I feel like I'm in so much control that the weight itself is moving along train tracks, as it were. But this takes time. It takes years of practice. So as you're doing your weightlifting journey, just enjoy the process. I can appreciate that many of you who are first starting to do weightlifting will be a little bit younger and you don't have a lot of finances. But unless you know a very experienced training buddy you can exercise with, then even if it's just for a few months, it is so worth it paying for a personal trainer. They can help motivate you, they can plan your gym sessions, they can help you with nutrition, but most importantly, they can help you with technique and form. Because ultimately, it's a lot cheaper to pay for a personal trainer for a few months than it is to pay for a physiotherapist because you've herniated multiple discs in your back because you had bad deadlifting technique. After years of studying sport and exercise science, I've come to the conclusion that someone who has knowledge about the mechanisms involved in exercise science is in a much better position to train than someone who just goes into it blind. However, this does not mean you need an exercise science degree before, exercising and going to the gym. However, throughout your training journey, for those of you that are quite committed to the gym and want to have exercise protocols and have training regimens that are backed by science, I'm going to suggest a roadmap for you guys. So level 1 is binging all of Jeff Nippard's content within the past 2 or 3 years to the point where you not only understand it, but you can probably recite it in your sleep. Level 2 here would be just to read 2 or 3 books, like the best books within exercise science, and to understand pretty much all the concepts within the book. Step 3 would be to then read scientific papers about exercise science, about biomechanics, exercise psychology, exercise physiology, so you have the most informed understanding when training. Does every person need to do all of this? No, they don't. Even if you just did the first level of just watching good content from Jeff Nippard and Jeremy Ether and other good fitness YouTubers, you'll be off to a really good start. However, I'm just saying that there's other levels to learning about this for those that are interested. Throughout one's lifting journey or exercise journey in general, some people end up obsessing over the finer details. They need to do the best exercise, they need the best lifting equipment, they need to track their protein and all other macro and micronutrients to the nearest gram or milligram. I can tell you for free that one of the best qualities of exercising and just life in general isn't always obsessing over the tiny details, it is consistency. Consistently training at least 3 days a week without fail, no matter what is going on in your life or what excuses that you might have. It's so much better to do a suboptimal training routine 3 days a week consistently than to do a training program that has the best exercise selection, but you only do it 3 days a month. To summarize, the 3 things that you should be keeping yourself accountable to the most, especially for people who are beginners, is to be consistent, but also to recover properly between each session and to put in effort with every single training session that you do. What I just described will give you 90% of the results. Once you can do all of that, then start obsessing over the finer details. While I just said you should not obsess over everything, which is true, there are some things that is useful to track. When starting out, it's important to track how much weight you've lifted or how heavy the weight is and how many reps and sets you have done of that weight. This gives you a good idea of what weight to do for the next session, but it also provides motivation because you can see how you're progressing over time. Another useful thing is to be deliberate about what exercises you're going to do. So each day you plan to go to the gym, type out or write out what exercise machines or exercises you want to do and then do them and be deliberate about it. Because if you're not deliberate and then you just go on a random machine that no one else is taking up and you just do an exercise at random when there's no structure to it, your results won't be as good. Lastly, it's important to take stock and track what your goals are. This is more in the first part of training, but your goals can change throughout training. Is your goal to get stronger, to build muscle, to improve your cardiovascular fitness, to lose fat, or maybe to do all of them at the same time? And it's really important to think about this because the goals that you have with your training will dramatically change what your training program looks like. The key here is not obsessing over the finer details, as I mentioned before, but making informed choices about your training. In life, a good rule of thumb is to create friction between you and the things that you don't want to do and the things that are unhealthy or unproductive, and to remove friction between you and the things that you want to do more, such as exercise. What I mean by friction is the resistance it takes, logistically and mentally, between you and performing something that you want to do, or just being at a certain place or starting something. For example, the friction between you and playing on your PlayStation or Xbox or gaming PC is probably quite small, because all you gotta do is press a button and then start. Applying this to exercise, if your gym is a 40-minute drive away each way, you're not going to be that motivated to train. Therefore, if you choose a gym that is only like 10 to 20 minutes drive away if possible, or cycle away, has good equipment, has good staff there, and it's spacious and it gives you everything you need, it's just a good quality gym in general, and it's not too far away, you are going to be so much more motivated to train, especially in the days when you don't want to train, which will happen. Because in this case, you're removing the friction it takes to go to the gym, while making the idea of going to the gym a lot more exciting if it's a nicer gym and not some grubby, rusty, horrendous gym. Also, if you spend more money on a gym membership, you'll probably feel bad about not going to the gym. And for those of you that live in the middle of nowhere, or you can't drive to a gym, and yes, to say cycling isn't really an option, then I would say invest in gym equipment like a bench and a couple dumbbells, because you can do most things with that. When you go to the gym, due to genetic factors and environmental factors, people will excel at different rates. A quote by Theodore Roosevelt is, "Comparison is the thief of joy." On the internet, there is a unlimited amount of physiques that have either been fueled by steroids or that have been enhanced by Photoshop to make them look better. In other words, they're just not natural. And for some of these people, their physique and by extension their brand, because these things make them money, they will lie about taking steroids, or they will lie about enhancing their photos with Photoshop, for example. Don't fall into the trap of many people and by comparing yourself to these people. Only compare you to your previous self. And also, unless they are some kind of genetic freak, those people in their 30s and 40s who have an amazing physique, or even late 20s, have been training for at least 5 to 10 years, at least. Some of these people might have had a lot of money so they can afford a personal chef or a nutritionist, or they might have had a really good mentor with their training from the start. You don't know what their circumstances are. Be patient with results, but impatient towards action. Learn the art and science behind training, and don't compare yourself to others. While there's nothing wrong with being partly motivated by going to the gym by wanting to look good, I personally derive motivation as well from the need and desire to be healthy. If you have this in mind, it dramatically changes how you approach training. For example, I have stretch marks all over my body that are going to stay unless I have surgery because I progress too quickly in the gym. Also, as someone that's done dirty bulking for a long time, yes, I gained muscle and weight faster, but it's so unhealthy for you and you feel horrendous when you do it. Another point I want to make is learn how to be healthy and recover well. Learn how to eat so the food helps you recover, but it also fuels your workouts. Learn how to reduce stress and improve your sleep. Listen to your body and rest if you feel like your body needs rest. And ultimately, your body adapts to stimuli. Your training is the stimulus, and becoming fitter is the adaptation. Your body actually adapts and becomes fitter, not when you're training, because that's a stimulus, it's actually when you are recovering, when you're not training. Recovery is just as important as training. This point is kind of controversial because the scientific literature has changed on this a bit over the past decade or so. However, if done correctly, in many different contexts, warm-ups have been shown to reduce injury and improve exercise performance. Generally speaking, if you're doing weightlifting, especially if you're lifting heavier weights, I would avoid static stretches and start with ballistic or dynamic stretches instead. You then think about what weight you want to do for your working set that is going to be challenging for you, and before you get to that point, do 2 to 3 warm-up sets between 0 and that weight to kind of warm your way up and to kind of gradually ease into that weight. So for example, let's just say I felt like 60 kg was a good weight for me to do for about 6 to 12 reps. I would start out by just doing some like arm swings, so some dynamic or ballistic stretches. I would then do a couple sets of just the bar. I would then do 40 kg, 50 kg, and then I would do my working set of 60 kg or multiple sets. However, again, just a caveat, there's a lot of controversy around this, so do your own research in regards to what would be the best warm-up for you. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy the video I did here, where I talk about the biggest factors that influence people's confidence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there. Adios, amigos.